All right, Damage Blue, we're back with an all new show. Listen, it's been the Black Future Month, and we've been celebrating all of our rich blackness. What did you guys walk away from this year feeling in your blackness?
Ooh, when it comes to Black Future Month, I feel like what we do as a collective here, I think, is an embodiment of Black Future Month. I mean, we do a show. Y'all don't see how we do this show, but this is virtual coolness, man. This is something you've never seen done before. So I feel like, our impact and what we do here on the show, I think is like something kind of dope when you talk about Black Future. But that's just me, boosting up our esteem because I feel like we just go so hard.
I think Black Future Month highlighted that the Black community still isn't on the same page in a lot of ways, and that
Damn.
it underscored why it's so important for us to be in the same room and look each other in the eyes and break bread. And so I hope that what happened this month wasn't a one off, and that we keep creating moments, not waiting, but creating moments where we get to sit across the table from each other and have real conversation. But that's the only way we're actually going to get on the same page finally.
Yeah, I think Black Future Month for me this year, being able to hold that brunch was really special. And, folks will look at the video years after this year and be able to see how amazing that one opportunity was. But also, like you said, keep the conversations going, but also turn those conversations to action. I was also interviewed by the LA Times this month from a Black journalist. My Black publicist set it up about the show where I host with two Black co-hosts. And we're on a Black network. Shout out to Fox Soul and James DeBose and his team. I mean, I really feel that what we are accomplishing and what we are creating is going to be looked at years to come as something that was a trailblazer. This show is a trailblazer in many ways because we've blazed our own trail in creating something from scratch. When you talk about for us, by us, while we welcome everybody to the party, we know who we're talking to. And I have to say, shout out to all of the people who've supported the show, the growth of the show, the evolution, the ups and downs of it, and continue to rock with us. And, I will say it's been very interesting this year, given some of the interviews that I've had. We did the Kevin Hart, did the Tiffany Haddish and the Common, but also with Kanye. And I have to say, those are all Black people who look like us, who showed up and stepped up for Black media, and in many ways did a lot of stuff that some of y'all should be doing, some of y'all favorites, and I didn't go through white publicists or white managers or white agents. I went directly to them, Black folks. And I can't wait to continue conversations. I've recently ran into Drake, I ran into Taraji. These are all people that I like and respect and ask to come here on the show. Megan Thee Stallion and I have been talking about her coming on the show, and Cardi B is coming. So this year I think is going to be really exciting. And I'm just glad that we're kicking it off in such a powerful way in all things Black. Now, I have to tell you, looking back at this month, I've also seen some crazy stuff happening. I want to talk about one thing that was just top of mind this morning when I was taking. There's this therapist who's breaking the code of holding private conversations and experiences private. And this therapist says that, quote, creepy Prince Andrew was obsessed with anal. Now, recently reports surfaced of Prince Andrew being obsessed with anal sex, and it's also alleged that he demanded naked rubdowns per a physical therapist. Now, the 50-year-old therapist, Emma Grunenbaum, says that I had a lot of high-profile clients and often visited their homes, but Andrew was very different. He was a constant sex pest right from the start. Now, the therapist is claiming that she was 34 when she worked with the disgraced prince in 2005. And during her first session, she says one of the prince's aides said that she had to do the massage session in the master bedroom because, quote, this was the way the Duke liked it. And she was immediately uncomfortable. Now, the therapist is also saying that she bent over to prepare her equipment when Andrew came up to her and said, hey, nice ass. Do you take it up the ass?
Hmm. I mean, this is to me. I don't feel like this is even alarming news. I feel like dude definitely gets down a little creepier than that. It's unfortunate that she had to go through all that, though. I mean, I don't even know how to feel if you're near with a duke that level of authority. I'm scared that she's even speaking out, talking about this dude. But hearing this story, it's not something I'm like, oh, it's nothing he would do. I'm surprised it wasn't anything worse than that.
Yeah, and also honestly too, it's an abuse of power. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times when we read these headlines, we think about the salaciousness of anal play and this, what, and the other. Look, nobody on this show is a virgin, right? There's gonna be very few things that we're gonna hear about sexually on this show that one of us hasn't tried. Let's be honest,
I'm a
y'all.
virgin.
So No, you're
Well,
not. So
think about the show. There are definitely things on this show that I could talk about that y'all have not tried.
exactly. No, but I'm saying all three of us, I think we've all three cover all the bases. So I'm
Well,
just saying. So it's not that we're sex shaming
that
her
is,
or
let me
sex
say
shaming him
something.
for anal.
I've covered all the bases, and sometimes I've been on two bases at the same time. But look, I think that
Ooh.
I don't think that it's above a prince or a duke or whatever he calls himself to be a sex animal, right? And I think it's natural to want to have sex. I just don't think you should be trying to, stick it in your therapist's butt. But why even approach her like that if that's not even your relationship? Is that just power? Because there are a lot of people in power that think that they can do and say whatever they want. For me, I now ask permission to even touch you because I don't want no problems. But I'm not going to ask my therapist if I can stick it in his butt. Like, I'm there to get help. I'm there to talk my issues through. I am not there to stick it in your booty.
It's not just about touching though, right? Because it's also how you harass people through language. Men offer me some really froggy things sometimes, and sometimes I'll just be staring at them like, "How did we get here so quick, sir?" Like Valentine's Day, I got a pic that was unsolicited. Just opened my phone expecting Happy Valentine's Day,
I
and it
I
was a
I
whole
think I
penis.
think I think that's
You
appropriate.
have to ask.
I think it's appropriate. I'm sick and tired of living in this world where we can't send pics nowadays. I'm sorry. I told somebody the other day, send me
Mm,
your pic. And you know what they told me? What pic? The pic. There's nothing wrong with asking for a pic. There's nothing wrong with somebody
no,
wanting
it's
to see
solicited.
vagina. Solicit it, and then if a person says I'm not sending it, then move on to the next caller. But I
Exactly.
feel I feel like we live in an ultra PC world now where we're afraid to ask for pics. Like, come on, that's what phones are created for.
I didn't ask. He sent it as a surprise. I was not surprised. I was not happy. We
Maybe he
haven't
was
talked
thinking
in
of
two
you,
months.
but maybe he was thinking of you. What happened to the
Oh,
is
he
the
was.
counts? What happened to the thought? Maybe what happened to it's the thought that counts. If I was you, I would have just counted the inches. Like, you need to learn how to be. You said you were sexually fluid and all this and that.
Hmm.
Now all of a sudden you can't get a
So
photo.
I'm so happy you mentioned that because in the sexually fluid community, we actually ask for consent more than vanilla folks. So in the space that I'm in, I ask for consent for everything. So you sending an unsolicited pick is actually not very sexually liberated at all. It's an amateur rookie move that tells on you that you're probably not as good as you think you are. Because rookies do that. So no more unsolicited dick pics. If there's a vibe and it makes sense, sure. But if I haven't talked to you since Thanksgiving, me seeing your ball sack on February 14th is not romantic. Hi, hello,
now,
context?
now this won't excuse it, but have you seen the ball sack before? Does he feel like, oh, you
Absolutely.
seen it? Oh, okay. So he was trying to remind
Well,
you that the
yeah,
gift keeps
Yeah.
on giving.
maybe he
Okay.
thought you were hungry. I mean, it
No
is
way.
Valentine's Day. He can't take you out for a meal, but if he can send you one via, post message, maybe it could have turned into a date or something.
8 p.m. on Valentine's Day means you just want to get laid and you want to skip the gifts. I'm not
So wait
stupid.
a
I'm not
minute.
falling for that.
So
What
if
what
you've
happened to get
seen,
wait? What happened to getting laid is the gift. It's Valentine's Day. That's the one day you supposed to be busting it open. Everybody should have got. I didn't get none on Valentine's Day, but everybody should have got some on Valentine's Day.
I
I
will
didn't
tell
either.
you this. A lot of men don't realize this when they're dating women. The nicer you are to us, the nastier we are. But if you go straight for sex, we actually shut down. So he fumbled. Had he been like, "How have you been? I miss you. Let's have a meal." He might have gotten some. But just penis at 7:55 with no
Yep.
context?
Well, we don't know his
No.
data. We don't know his data plan, and that's a lot of
Oh, he
messages.
has money.
Sometimes you're charged 20 cents a text. Like, just get it all out in one. Just
Unsolicited pics are a no, fellas. Please
Now, but this
stop.
is my question, and we're gonna get it real quick. If you've seen before, is it
Yeah.
really unsolicited if he just reminds you of what you already saw?
it's
We
like
are
watching.
not dating.
It's like watching a rerun
We're
of
not
Martin.
dating anymore.
It's like
Yeah, it's
watching a
like a
rerun of
rerun.
Martin. You've seen it before, but it's always good to catch it a second time.
So, Damage, you're sending pics to your exes with no context?
No, I'm not saying nothing to my exes, but I'm just saying it's not like you
Exactly.
haven't seen it before. Now, because
Mm-mm.
honestly, if one of my exes sending me an unsolicited nude, I'm not gonna be too mad at that. I'm just saying. Just
A
saying.
penis is not as pretty as a woman's body. I gotta like you to want to see. Sorry.
Whoa, 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 wait. A penis is not as what as a woman's body?
I only find penises attractive when I like who they're attached to.
Not me.
So A penis that is just floating around and I don't like you anymore is just a one-eyed monster looking at me on my phone.
There was
That
somebody
doesn't do
that I
anything for me.
don't there was somebody that I don't like, but I just discovered their penis. I was like, "I actually kinda like you a little bit more now." You know what I mean? Like, I
That's
actually
some
think
whole
the penis
shit.
can actually make you grow fonder. You know, I think it's all perspective. Like, we need to get to a we need to get to a place in the world where we can start to bridge some of these gaps that exist, okay? Where we
What?
believe that we can't get closer to one another by other parts of our body than the heart. I do have to say that I think that that was a missed opportunity for you, and if you still have the text, you should definitely respond and set that thing up.
Lord, I hope he's not watching this. Please do not call my
Now,
phone.
but quickly, if you did get a nude from like a female ex, would you feel the same way?
I don't want. Here's the thing. I'm in the space where I want to get married, and I've been told numerous times the amount of exes who hit me up is why a lot of people feel funny about dating me seriously. So I'm on a no ex rule for the entirety of 2022.
Oh,
That the year we're on. I'm not doing any exes in 2022. If we
Your
had sex
desire,
before December 31st, you're dead to me.
your desire to get married is the reason why you won't accept unsolicited pics out of here. Let me explain.
No, my exes know when I'm dating somebody. They know and they try to ruin it. It's happened to me several times, so
How
I
many
can't keep on giving
exes?
them
How many
access.
exes do you even have? I feel like every time we do this show, there's a new relationship we find out. There's the man that wanted to wear your panties.
It's not
There's the
new.
man that's sending pics. There's the man that your friend took. You got more than I do. Where are all these men coming from? Blue, put me on.
The East Coast, I'm gonna be honest.
she
None
got
of
that
they're all East
sauce.
Coast.
Come on, you got that sauce. You got that sauce.
Y'all gonna get me in trouble. I'm just gonna say this: that when you are someone who makes people feel good, and
Mm,
COVID has been hard on people, they
mm.
tend to, want to feel better. That is
Blue,
my
Blue,
PC
Blue.
answer.
I mean, everybody that watches the show knows you're smart. Did you get all this freakiness when you were a sex worker? Because I think people have forgot that that is a part of your byline.
Honestly, sex work is what healed me from my eating disorder. So sex was actually healing for me. It was. I'm being so serious. When I was younger, I had a really bad eating disorder. I was rail thin. It was really really bad. And the thing is, that when you stop having an eating disorder, you gain all the way back plus like an extra 50 pounds. And I realized that I had left my body because I was constantly doing all these horrible things to it. And someone said, "What about sexual healing? You can heal through sex." And so I moved to New York and my way through the Bronx and Manhattan and found a way to come back into my body. And I felt powerful through kink and through sex play. So sex actually can be part of therapy. I went to therapy after that, but the sex helped.
I'm signing up for what's this called? Sexual healing.
Wait,
I'm gonna
wait,
look this
wait,
up
wait,
on.
Yeah.
wait. My
I've
way,
healed men through sex too. Men can be healed through sex too.
did you
Yes,
say
we can, Blue.
my
Thank
way?
you.
Did you say my
What?
way through the Bronx?
And Harlem.
You went through two boroughs? Okay, I can't. Listen, and I'm gonna tell you that's why this next issue is an issue because the FBI is now saying that Americans lost $1 billion to romance scams in 2021. So recently, the
Oh.
FBI announced that over 24,000 Americans have lost reported $1 billion due to romance scammers just within this past year. Now, the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, reported that romance scammers contributed to a loss of $547 million in 2021 and noted that cryptocurrency was one of the main sources of payment. Now, per Forbes, the individual median loss in cryptocurrency was $9,770 as scammers use different methods to manipulate their victims with fake cryptocurrency investment advice. Now, look, I don't know. When I think about how much money I've lost in failed romances, I think about sneakers, outfits, trips to Zara or Neiman, a couple trips, boat, stuff like that. I ain't never did nothing crazy like some of y'all. Y'all be buying people houses. Y'all be buying people motorcycles. They got these dogs that cost $20,000. I'm sorry, there has not been a penis on this earth or an ass that has made me call somebody up and say, "Baby, how much was that $20,000 dog? I got you." Like, it just ain't there for me. And maybe that's because I'm cheap. But when I add up all the shoes I bought, I could own my own Zappos.
No, it makes sense, man. This pandemic got us all in the house, and now you're meeting more people virtually. And then, honestly, because it's a pandemic, a lot of people lost their work. So you heard it, it's crypto scams. You're thinking you're investing this money, so you're not just giving this money away to this person you so-called fell in love with. You think this person really has your best interest, and you can invest your money. So it's really just a big investment scam, and it's so sad. But it's I definitely see how this can happen to the average person. You start flirting online, things start getting a little heated. It's like, yo, you want to flip your $100? Yeah, boo. Take it right out your pocket. Done.
Mm.
Wow.
Well,
That's what your DMs be looking like, damn? That's a lot.
Well,
Wow.
there's this new show on, I think it's on Netflix about the Tinder Swindler. This guy
Mhm.
who's on
Yes.
Tinder swindling people out lots of money. I haven't had the privilege of seeing that yet, but everybody keeps talking
Oh,
about
I
it.
seen it.
I don't think there's anybody that I've ever met that's made me that I've ever met that whether I've been able to see them or not see them in person has ever made me feel compelled to send a bunch of wires and cash apps and PayPals. Is this a new era thing of people just being lonely
Oh,
and the
no.
in the pandemic keeping people trapped away inside their houses that they just are so desperate for love that they'll do anything?
I think the
No.
pandemic is making us go back to old school ways. Like I heard that Tinder or some app is now going to have a function where you can listen to people's bios instead of reading them. And my old ass was like, "That's the party line. They've reinvented the party line, Jason." I don't know if you remember the party line, but Jason and
Oh, I
we
do.
were there during the height of the party line. And so in 2022 and 1998 are starting to like blur for me. So yeah, they're bringing the party line back. I think being in the quarantine has made us all kind of go back to old ways and old scams. Scamming has gone up like 45% across the board. I've had to change my debit card like 3 or 4 times. I'm not even getting Tinder swindled. So you add that to the loneliness of, hey baby, I got your back. And to Damage's point earlier, there were two guys that I talked to. I did not date them, so this is not no exes, guys. But there were two guys that I met, and on our first and last dates, both times, they tried to talk about crypto with me. Yo, if you just give me
Mhm.
$1,000, Blue, we could be a power couple. And I was like, I don't like where this is going because you asked me for $1,000 before my entree showed up. So it is a very popular line, and I guess it's a new scam, which is really messed up.
Well, I don't want it. I don't have no time for it. Love is one of those things where, it's very complicated. But on top of that, once a person starts asking for things, and I'm very sensitive to when a person starts to make reference or suggestions that they need something or that it's so hard to hang out because their bills are driving them crazy. I'm like, well, you better go handle them
Mhm.
bills and come back and holler at me. Like, I'm okay with you finessing me because I'm gonna finesse you too, but at least let's put it all on the table. Don't play with me like I'm stupid. And the more that it happens, and this is why I always think about men who don't think about what women go through on a daily basis. All the lines y'all run on these girls, all the lines y'all run on me, they've been ran so many times that we can see it before it gets there. I just feel like people would just need to wake up a little bit and be a little bit more mindful of that. Now I could tell you, I have never been scammed, but I have been stolen from by a guy. Let me tell you something. I met somebody and spent some time with this person, and I left him in my house while I went to work. This was years ago. And when I came back, my apartment was pitch black, and I just knew, because he was from out of town, that he was gone. When I turned on the lights, baby, it looked like somebody had ran through my house. Computer was gone. Bose headphones was gone. Beats by Dre headphones was gone. Jordan's was gone. And I'm not going to tell you how that was handled, but I will tell you that I learned a very priceless experience that don't leave no in your house.
Ever. Or if you do have a camera, so you can catch their little sneaky ass. I'm surprised you didn't have a camera in your apartment though. Catch their asses red-handed. Because they got those cameras you can talk through the speaker to at them, like, hey, put it down. Hey, I see you, put
Well,
it down.
Well, I didn't have
Right.
cameras then. I have cameras everywhere now. I don't have a camera in my bedroom for obvious reasons, but I almost feel like putting a camera in there too. People stealing out my house and doing stuff. And sometimes if I had a little bit too much of that Don Julio, you know, uh, just never know. But you got to think about these things these days because people are just doing so much for clout. Even go hooking up with somebody and going to sleep. People got their cell phones. It's one of those things where I'm just waiting for the videos to pop up at me. It's like, okay, we was in bed together. So what? All this gonna be is some attention on social media. But I didn't even know get was news these days. But look, I just think that folks should just be careful and be very mindful of your coinage. Don't give it to anybody and everybody. Now, there's a new poll that's out asking if celebrities should hide their pregnancies from media due to the backlash. Now, recently, we've seen celebrities get pregnant, like Rihanna and others, and we've had some celebrities who have hidden their children from the world and then pop up out of nowhere with kids. I think Romeo Miller was one that just did that, and shout out to him who's on Fox Soul. I think it's one of those things where like we want to know so much about celebrities now, and they want to try to find one thing they can keep private. But I think that once you're a public figure, although you try to conceal it and want to put it out on your own terms, in the day of cell phones, like how can you keep it private? You go to the store, you get seen going to the supermarket or to, the doctor's office or something, somebody snaps a photo of you. How can you keep it private? I don't think that celebrities have the right to privacy. Period.
They
What?
no, he
Nope.
said you don't think they should have privacy, Jason? It's
Nope.
just so sad because I think we have the right to the art they give, but what your personal life, I think you have that right to keep that private. If your mom is sick or a family, a loved one is sick, pregnancy, you're going through something in your personal life, like Romeo Miller, you're an artist. You ain't got to tell us if you're having a baby. I mean, if you want to, that's dope. But as far as Rihanna as well, we got Fenty. We got so many great things that come from her creative mind. Why do I have to know what you're doing in your personal life? Like some people really feel upset that somebody will come out with a child and they're like, oh, we didn't know, they were hiding it from us. We not in a family. Like it's not up to us to dictate what they show us and not show us. So I think I'm a little bit on the other side of the spectrum with that.
I'm all the way on the other side. If we're still doing these boxes by the time I get pregnant, y'all not gonna find out until Rob has to roll me out this chair. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not telling none of y'all until I have no choice. Until Kelvin's like, Blue, you look bloated. I'm like, damn it. Okay, fine. I'm having a baby tomorrow. I'm keeping it a secret. West Indian women, we've always been told, wait until your second trimester because you don't want any bad juju. Because we do have haters, guys, and so a woman can get stressed from reading comments, feedback, backlash. When Beyonce was pregnant the first time, she was actually getting all this backlash and then had a miscarriage. And she later said having to read the backlash is actually what made her feel even worse after her miscarriage. That was the exact moment that I decided I was never going to tell none of y'all when I got pregnant until I had no choice. So I'm all for it. Keep it a secret. I'm wearing baggy sweatshirts until I have no choice. I
Well,
get pregnant now, y'all won't know.
I want to know because with Rihanna's case, I felt the energy between her and Rocky when I was around them that I knew a baby was coming because I knew they was getting it in. I mean, ain't no way them two look as sexy as they do and they ain't like bunnies. Okay. But it was funny when I found out that she was pregnant that I had felt like she was avoiding me, but that was because she knew I was on to something. You know what I mean? I'm that master manifester that we talk about. But I do,
Hmm.
but in that case, yeah, I would want to know. Like, I want to know when Riri's gonna have a baby. I'm not gonna go dig in her garbage to get the little test or whatever, but I definitely want to know. Remember back in the day in the boom of the rag mags, people were like going in people's
The
garbage cans,
trash.
finding pregnancy tests and doing crazy stuff. Like, I ain't doing all that. I'm not getting my clothes dirty, but I do want to know. I want to know who's out there having babies for sure.
It's just
It's
these fans feel
stressful.
so entitled that they're upset when it just pops out
Hmm.
and they didn't know. It's like, oh, they've been keeping this from us. It's like you get the art, you get the creativity. Yes, they can keep this to themselves. You're not even in their family. They don't know your name. You're not entitled to nobody's personal life. That's just what it is. Now, if it comes out though. And then we're gonna talk about it.
Well, shout out to
Yeah.
Van Jones, who also welcomed a child with his longtime female friend, Noemi. Now, Van said that the two wanted a child, that they aren't together, but will consciously co parent. I don't know what that means.
Different.
There's so many different ways to have kids these days. I almost feel like they gonna find the microwavable kid thing in a minute where you just pop it in
Ooh.
20 seconds later, boop, there it is. I don't know. Congrats to everybody out there having kids. Congrats to all of you who were able to conceal it. I'm on the job. If I find out, I'm telling people. I will say though, I don't do pregnancy rumors at Hollywood a lot because women's pregnancy during the first trimester is kind of tricky. So you kind of want to
Hmm.
wait because then you could be announcing somebody's miscarriage or somebody's abortion, and that's just not something that we do. But once we have confirmation that somebody's pregnant, I think when we found out Iggy Azalea was pregnant by Playboy Cardi, because a friend of mine was in the studio with them, that we put that out because we knew it. But we're very careful to not do it unless we know for sure. Mhm. All right. Well, look, there's another social media poll, and this poll is asking when and how should we teach our children about activism? Now, at what age and how should parents teach their children about being active and standing up for what they believe? When I think about the Black Lives Matter movement, there's so many kids who look like us, Blue and Damage, who are sitting at home watching this movement take place and not only want to be a part of it, but there was recently something that happened online that we posted on Hollywood Unlocked that had me kind of giggling. This black 9-year-old boy in Vacaville convinced his entire class to walk out and protest against their school's officials because they decided to take chocolate milk off the menu. Now, look, I thought that was petty as hell, but I was like, look at my little Malcolm over there,
I love
being a little Black
that.
Panther for the black milk. You know, um, Do you think he was wrong for that?
I don't think he was wrong for protesting. You better do it. That's freedom of speech. But I will say, as a parent, I have a 9-year-old, and just in passing, I don't know what made me say the phrase. I was saying Black Lives Matter. He said, "No, Daddy, all lives matter." And I said,
Oh,
"Hell no, son. It's time to have a conversation." So I think around
mm-mm.
8, 9 years old, it's that beginning conversation. You need to talk about race and activism, because I had to let them know, just because we're advocating for who we are and our skin color, because we're the ones that get done wrong, doesn't mean this is an indictment or us attacking another race. I had to really explain that to him, because we're going to school out here in Burbank. He's around a lot of different cultures, but I got to let him know our culture does matter, because our culture is the most attacked. And I had to really get that through to his head. And I don't think he's fully understood it yet, but I think it's a good time to start that conversation. And my son is 9. So I think around 8 and 9, it's a good time to start really talking about activism and race, and letting your child understand who he is and where he stands in the world.
Yeah, I with my godson and all of my baby cousins that I helped raise, I started like around 5 or 6 because a lot of times when we think about activism, we think about the big ticket items. We don't think about how you socialize. By the time a child is 5 years old, it's already learning from the kids in the school, like being black is not as great as being white, or hey, I want to look like Susie because she has blonde hair and I have short kinky hair. Kids start understanding their value very early, and race plays a very heavy role in it. I know so many little black girls growing up who thought they were ugly because they didn't have any hang time because their hair grew upwards instead of downwards. And so it doesn't have to be just activism as far as talking about police brutality. Just talking about how valid and beautiful it is to be black is a form of activism that I think I'm going to start with my kids as early as they are able to talk and be cognizant and understand, because anti-blackness sometimes is in the way the world makes you see yourself. And I want my kid to look in the mirror and see the right thing.
Well, the district chef and culinary manager in this case, Richie Willem, says that the cut of the chocolate milk was due to milk's high sugar content. But when meeting with a group of students, the 9-year-old leader, Jordan Reed, argued that offering regular milk causes his classmates to drink less milk, leading to increased waste and students getting fewer calcium and vitamin D nutrients. I don't know who this kid is, but
I
this
love
kid,
him.
he's a little
Bad news.
badass. Now you talk about Black Future Month. This is Black Future right here, where we got leaders like this stepping up. You know, and I'll tell you right now, I look forward to chocolate milk days. When I was going to public school, I looked forward to chocolate milk days, and the white milk just did not taste the same. So sorry.
That's one of the first things we actually bonded about, Jason, when I read your book. And I was like, Jason and I have way too much in common with our messed up childhoods. And then you start talking about your love of chocolate milk. I was like, damn, he was drinking the chocolate milk too. I will say though that you have to tell your kids when they're wrong for being activists. Because and this is a real story, I got in trouble in the first grade because I went and told everybody that milk came from daddies and not from cows, because I had found one of my dad's pornos. And I got in trouble. So context is actually important. It was the first time I ever got detention because I saw a porno and I thought it was milk. And
You know, for the first time, I would say there's some things we shouldn't
yeah,
share on the show, but whatever, it is uncensored. Well, listen,
context matters.
shout out to this little 9-year-old, because after he did this whole standoff, he actually won, and now chocolate milk, they get chocolate milk one day of the week. And he said, he released a statement via his publicist. Jordan said, quote, "I felt good about it. I brought back something that everybody wanted." I
Come
mean,
on.
I need a picture of this kid standing in DC where Martin Luther King did the "I believe I have a dream" speech. All
I
right.
love him.
Okay, question. How do we explain and combat racism in sports? Now, racism exists in every sector of life, in every country, and in every industry of work. We recently witnessed racism in sports, which isn't the first time. We saw the U.S. sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson be banned from the Olympics over marijuana, while a Russian figure skater, Kamila Valieva, was cleared to compete after testing positive for illegal performance enhancers. And we all know Sha'Carri was banned prior to the Winter Olympics after testing positive for marijuana, which she consumed to help cope with her mother's death. And this is what she had said. Quote, "It's all in the skin. Can we get a solid answer on the difference of her situation and mine? My mother died and I can't run, and was also favored to place top 3. The only difference I see is I'm a black young lady." Now, Camila failed in December, and the world just not knows. However, my results were positive within a week, and my name and talent was slaughtered to the people. By the way, THC is definitely not a performance enhancer.
Hmm.
What do you guys think? Do you think racism is real in when it comes to how they deal with people in sports? Now, before you answer, I'm gonna just say hell yeah.
Yeah, but I think the first question you asked is how do we combat it? And I think it's going to be hard to do that because sports is a racist institution. So I feel like the first thing we got to do is create our own sports institutions, like what we had in the past, very long time ago. But we can create our own basketball leagues, and we have. Shout out to people like Ice Cube. We can create our own football leagues, but I think that's the first step in combating racism within sports because sports itself is racist. It just always was. The owners, a lot of them are racist. You see what they do with the coaches. There's barely black coaches in any of the sports. So it's just a racist institution.
I do think creating our own long term is a great idea, but I think before that, we need people of color, black people in particular, as gatekeepers in pre existing institutions. Because I don't feel good about letting them off easy. Like, oh, we're going to create our own thing and y'all can keep on being racist to those who are left behind. I think in the institutions that currently exist, you need more black coaches, you need more black officials, you need more black owners, you need black gatekeepers. Because the reason why racism is so prevalent in sports is because we talked about the NFL earlier. It's like modern day plantations where all the overseers are white and all the talent, all the worker bees are black. And that dynamic has to shift. And so, as long as it's white overseers with black talent, we're going to always have racism. We need black people who are making those calls, who are in those meetings, who are deciding those things about who gets to be in the Olympics and who doesn't, because athletes are not enough. We need owners who are black in sports.
Well, Sha'Carri mentioned that the world just found out about this 15-year-old testing positive for a banned performance-enhancing substance, and this was back in December. And so, again, I just think that I always say I can't wait till everybody gets woke, and that I'm woke as because I'm sitting here watching this all play out in real time. It's not just sports; it's music, it's media, it's raising money, it's just being black in America. And I know when I first started building Hollywood Unlocked, I was very mindful to try to use my platform to build bridges. But then when I realized that that other end of the bridge don't always reach back, sometimes you just gotta build your side of the bridge a lot louder for the people to see, and a
Mhm.
lot stronger for people to see. And so what I know for sure is that if every athlete who is a person of color just failed to go to the table and compete, they would all figure it out. If just think
Big
about it,
change.
if everybody who is a person of color, from basketball to football to tennis to whatever, just decided I'm no longer playing as a collective until they change it. Do you know how fast the sweeping changes would take place in sports? I mean, it would have a significant impact because if we said we're not showing up and playing and we're not watching, what is that going to look like?
I
There's no
agree.
game
I feel
without
like
us.
we got so much power. And like you said, we do need black owners. We need more black coaches, but we got black players, right? And black players have a voice and they are powerful. They're the people that we look at. If everybody goes on that court and says, we're not doing anything, if they go on that field and say, we're not doing anything, yeah, they'll try to find you after game one. But if you keep doing that through game two, game three, game four, changes have to be made immediately because the money's going to plummet. And that's what we got to do. To take down that racist institution, we got to hit them in their pockets.
Well, something that came out of the brunch was when one of the people there said that black folks, black celebrities feel like white ice is colder. Another thing that came out from Connie Orlando, who's the SVP over at BET, when she said that when black celebrities don't show up for our stuff, it makes our brands look weaker and it makes our brands look less important. And when I think about that, I think about how often our folks don't show up for each other but still show up for other people who they claim to be racist or suppress them? Is it because of the bag that the loyalty is there, or is it just this? I personally have said that I think it's the seeking of white validation that our people tend to have that gets them confused on where their priorities should lie.
No, I just feel like sometimes we're conditioned to feel like white institutions are more professional. Even if you look at how sports work with HBCUs, why aren't these players going to play at historically black colleges? No, because they think of Duke and all these other schools that are clearly white owned are more professional. They have more resources. But if we start going to these platforms, if we go to these institutions, we will help them bring the resources. So I think it's kind of like how we're conditioned. I don't know where that conditioning started, where we look at, oh, this white institution is more professional than what us with our own kind created.
Yeah, I do think that white is a default and that the whole world sees white as refined and mainstream and good, and anything that's not white is considered ethnic and other. Perfect example. I'm on this show, I'm on a black network, I have black co hosts, but I'm also very aware that if I showed up the way that I usually look, which was with my hair in a wrap, An African head wrap would make you all in the comment section like, oh, this is unprofessional. Why is she wearing African head wrap? She looks like she's going to the store, despite the fact that people wear these head wraps for their weddings in other countries, right? Anything that's not white presenting is always seen as unprofessional. It's always seen as raw and crude, and that's all steeped in anti-blackness. White features, white validation, it's all part of the same system. But I do have to be honest though, I'm never going to judge any athletes or anybody who's in professional sports who has a family to feed. And before they can think about the community, they have to feed their family. And they're saying, hey, this place that I'm going has more resources. So that's why I keep on talking about why we need more black gatekeepers, because even if we have all the players say we're not going to come back, when it's time to talk about change without a black gatekeeper at the table, that change is going to be very like paltry. We need people on both sides making sure that when we inconvenience them, the folks who are making the solutions also look like us. We can't just keep on
Mhm.
flipping over tables.
Right, but we also have to take a very hard stand on where we sit with the issue, right? If we believe that
Yeah.
racism is, of course, one of the last few shows we talked about the Super Bowl, and we talked about people flip flopping on the issue of whether they stand or kneel with Colin, or they're all about Jay-Z getting the bag for the music production. Either way, I feel like, again, like we need to stop being America's hot sauce. We need to stop being white culture mainstream's hot sauce. We need to be the entire meal. And that's the one thing that everybody I talk to at Hollywood Unlocked, when I'm entering a partnership, I'll tell you straightforward a conversation I had with one of my brand partners the other day. When I told him that the price doubled, they wanted to get into analytics and followers and this and that. I said, let me be very clear. The follower count is one thing, which we're almost at 3 million, but the culture behind those followers matters. Like, I'm not a meme page. I am not a influencer page. I am one of the culture leaders online. And so to tell me, and I had this black woman telling me what my value was, I had to check her very clearly and then call the owner of the company to check him. So that way we can understand that I'm not here as a number on your bottom line, that I'm here to give you the privilege of sharing your products with black people who spend a lot of black dollars. And I think at first they were a little offended. And most people who are non-black get offended, whether you're in sports or media or whatever, when you speak out of turn. Well, let me tell you, it's our turn. It's our turn to get everything we want, everything we deserve. And when I decided to double my rates, there wasn't a lot of thought that went into it. I know the value and I know the discount a lot of people have been privileged to get, and those discounts are over. And I think that what we have to do is just be very clear on our position. And more times than few, I found this person, which I think has to happen in sports and has to happen in every other industry, trying to manipulate me into believing that the favor they were doing for me by giving me money was something I should feel privileged about. And the other thing is they were gaslighting me into defending my value. I don't think we have
Hmm.
to defend our value. We know our value. And I think that, again, going back to stop being America's hot sauce or white folks' hot sauce, black people just need to get on one accord and look at all their self-interest and align them with the collective interest so we can get to a better place. That's the only way we're going to win. Well, now on
Yeah.
another front, recently they introduced the hosts of the Oscars this year, Amy Schumer, Wanda Sykes, and Regina Hall, which I think is going to be comedically funny. But the Oscars is another place where filmmakers and actors and actresses have been embedded in claims of racism over there. I recently ran into Valicia and the new CEO over there at the Grammys, the Recording Academy, who are both black. And so some of these typical mainstream environments are now bringing people of color into leadership positions, or at least front facing on camera. Do we believe that the Recording Academy and the Oscars will actually turn and become a very fair and inclusive world?
No,
Um,
no, and I don't know much about it, but I just say no. It's just this been going on since I was born, y'all. I've been seeing people protest and complain about the Oscars and the Grammys and stuff like that since I could remember. It's not changing. We need to stop it. Like we need to stop it. We it's at some point we got to stop complaining and say we got to draw the line in the sand. What are we doing? Are we supporting it or are we not supporting it? Because some days when they nominate the right people, we're going yay. When they sit there and snub the people that we love, we go no. So it's kind of like every year they get us riled up, and I feel like they do this on purpose. So no, I don't feel like they're going to get it right. I don't.
I'm torn because I understand that sentiment, because even when we have progress, it's two steps forward, three steps back, and so it's not like linear progress. I will say though that I do have a handful of friends who are now have the right to vote during the Oscars. I don't want to share so much of their business, but and they're very pro black. They're blackety black, like flip the table black. And so knowing that these rebel rousing troublemakers who have made their way into the A list are now being afforded the opportunity to vote next to the old white men, and I was so proud of them when they got that privilege. It still makes me want to say, why not do both? Why not infiltrate and build our own? I want everybody's money, y'all. Okay. I'm not leaving no money on the table. If the Oscars owe me an Oscar, run me that on my way to the NAACP Awards. I want it all. Okay. In lieu of reparations, give me everything.
I posted on my social media recently that I'm coming for it all in 2022, and I agree with you. I think that we don't have to choose one or the other. I just think we need to stop seeing one as superior than the other.
Yeah.
The Oscar holds more value than an NAACP award. And that's really interesting, and something to really unpack, right? But I also feel like in many ways, when it comes to who they put on the Oscars, or who they have hosting the Grammys, regardless of the color of the person's skin on camera. It's what are the policies and practices? What are the principles and positions behind how each organization functions? When I think about our platform, Hollywood Unlocked, when I think about the show, what does it take to be nominated for an Emmy? What is that process? What are the politics?
Mm.
I can look at a lot of interviews and go, I did better than that. But I'm not a voter over there yet. I'm not in that world. So I always find it interesting and wanting to explore where these finish lines end up for us. But I just hope that they continue to, embody progress towards more inclusivity. Well, listen, we recently wrote a story at Hollywood Unlocked where a 4-year-old girl was found alive after being missing for 3 years. Apparently, she lived under the stairs in New York. Now
Wait,
this is a little white girl. I'm sorry. I don't under Your kid
wait,
was
what?
living under the stairs for 3
Wait,
years?
the stairs where?
Listen, the
What?
story said she was under a secret set of stairs. What are secret stairs? I'm just baffled at the idea that somebody's child was missing for 3 years. How did the kid even eat for 3 years or go to the bathroom? 3 years under some stairs?
See,
This
that's
is a
where it gets a little
Netflix
bit.
movie.
No, that's where it gets a little tricky. How did she get under them stairs? How did she get fed? There's more to that damn story. That little girl just didn't crawl under there for 3 years and just play with rats and live in the dark. Like, come on now.
Wait, why would she play
This
with
is a
rats
bigger story
though?
because it's like you under the stairs.
It's not funny, but 3 years, that means she missed 3 birthdays, 3 Christmas, 3 Easters, 3 Thanksgivings, 3 summers. Like, I just can't imagine 3
How'd they
3
find
years.
her?
But yet she survived. Something's going on.
How'd
This
they
is a bigger story.
This sounds like sex trafficking or something. Like, how'd they
Mm-hmm.
find her? Who lived there? Who fed her? What did she
Mm-hmm.
eat? Was she eating her hair? Like, nah, I'm
You
gonna
know,
wait for 2020 to do an expose on this. 'Cause I need answers.
the sad part about this is there are so many kids that are forgotten that 3 years in person or under the stairs, they can go missing in terms of not being seen or heard of or heard from. But where the school, nobody triggered the kids missing, nobody thought of anything. I was on a call earlier with the mayor of my hometown, and I was talking to him about the investment that needs to take place for kids. And one of the things I said was there has to be this investment to the extent that there is support in the city for kids who are displaced from their homes, find themselves homeless, need direction, need to pull up and get support and services. I feel like nowadays when it comes to children, the world doesn't really look at children as valuable as they are. They don't look at them as the
Mm-mm.
future and really invest in their dreams or ideas. And I find myself torn at times because, once you do get so blessed, especially coming from a place where I come from, you want to go back and help. You want to do a lot of amazing things, but you want people in your hometown or in those areas to invest in them because ultimately it's the city that they live in full time that actually needs the help. How can a kid like this go unchecked for 3 years?
Well, they said that because of COVID. I don't know what the years were. I don't know if you guys have the years, but they've said that COVID made them realize how much of checks and balances for children's safety comes from other adults seeing them at school. And so there's a lot of kids who were in abusive households or who have gone missing, who, because they didn't have a teacher to ring the alarm, nobody in the house cared enough to say anything. And so there is a lot of kids that have gone missing because of the pandemic, because of Zoom learning and not going in and homeschooling. And it makes me just kind of nervous for all of us, not just children. Think about how much we all do things virtually. There was a documentary a couple years ago about a lady who died on Christmas Eve while wrapping gifts, and it took 3 years for her family to notice. And the big conversation when that documentary came out was, we all live in these silos. If you disappeared, guys, how long do you think it would take you? Well, Jason, we'd know in 20 minutes because you always have people around you. But damn it, if you disappeared, how long do you think it would take you people to figure out that you were no longer with us? I think I could last a week. I disappear for a week at a time all the time before any of my friends would
It,
notice.
it wouldn't go longer than a day. You know, I got to see my son and my mom every day, but it's still truth to that. That's so scary because I do have friends that are, you know, leaving their hometown for a job opportunity, going to places like Portland or you know, places like
LA.
Minnesota, LA, and you don't have that family support around and you don't talk to them as much because everybody else is busy, and they could go a week, or I mean 3 years is, that's crazy that nobody checked on grandma for 3 years. But that is very that's interesting news right there. I got to think about that.
I'll
Mm.
send you the link.
Yeah, it's really sad, and as somebody who was a kid who was left behind many times by his mom, or went into the foster care system, I often think about a kid like this, 9 years old. Earlier this show, we talked about a 9-year-old kid who was a leader in this community, fighting for the injustice of taking out chocolate milk, and now we're talking about a 9-year-old who was forgotten and left under the stairs for 3 years. When I think about a lot of the kids who look like me or who may not look like me, but are in situations like I was as a kid, I often think of the dreams that they have to be great and to have a life where they have to the freedom to do whatever they want to do. I mean, the life that I'm living now, I dreamt of having just freedom. I didn't think about financial freedom, but financial freedom gives you a certain level of peace. But I thought about like wanting to be great, wanting to have influence, wanting to make a decent living. And when I think about some of these kids who just want to go to school, they just want to wake up every day, just want to be loved, it's really sad to know that this is happening out there. And there is a documentary that I watched on Netflix that had me in pure tears, that I actually even called Cardi B, and she watched and she was in pure tears. And it was the life of Gabriel Fernandez. If anybody needs to watch something that will make you understand how I feel about how important we should be looking out for our children, that's the one documentary. But it was devastating. I hope this little girl gets some therapy because we all know she's gonna have some issues processing
Yeah.
this experience.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, make sure you guys keep coming back because this show is lit, and we'll be here every week. Peace.